weigh in.
So pro-Palestine protesters at McGill University have set up an indefinite encampment in what they call an act of solidarity. They want Israel to pull out of Gaza and for the school to stop taking money from institutions with ties to Israel. So these protests are similar, of course, to the ones we've been seeing all over the U.S. And we want to talk about whether or not this is an effective form of protest. What do you guys think?
I think it is, but it's so hard to understand what the real story is on the ground, I guess, unless you're there. So I think my issue with this story is, you know, I look at the media and what are the stories that the media is saying? Because you can pluck out all kinds of stories of what's happening on these campuses. So, for example, there was a podcast I listened to this morning from The Front Burner, which is a CBC podcast, and there was a reporter, her name is Ariel Angel, and she said she was expecting to kind of land at Columbia University in New York, which is where a lot of this started, sort of the center point of all of this. She was expecting something because what she had seen on the news. She was expecting violence and sort of hatred, and she said when she landed, it was the complete opposite. So now you're asking yourself, what stories are the different media outlets choosing to tell? And I think that will tell you if this is an effective form of protest or not. My understanding reading the Globe and Mail today is that the McGill encampment that has popped up is quite the opposite, that according to the university, the majority of the students there are not in fact students. They're from people outside of the campus community. That changes the story for me, for sure. So is it effective? It depends what story you're getting on media.
Well, I still feel like for this one, we need a crystal ball to find out if it's effective. Like we don't really know, but I think being protesters on university campuses is almost like a hallmark. It's almost part of that experience. And in a way, I admire student protesters because I wasn't one of them. I remember, do you guys remember in your university days walking past protests?
There's a protest every day.
I used to say in my head, oh, I can't believe they're protesting that. We're a university in Canada. That issue's so big and it's halfway across the world and it's a conflict that's been going on for, you know, hundreds of years. But then on the other hand, I would see a small sort of local protest and I remember thinking, oh, that's inconsequential. Think about all the bigger problems in the world. So I think I was really small-minded, quite frankly. So when I see students, I guess there's an envy, like they care about something more than themselves. I think I only cared about myself in university, quite frankly.
I don't think you should give yourself a hard time because when you're in university, there's so much going on. You're young, you're just trying to figure it out. And university, I remember in my first year, I was so excited. It's like I was seeing the world for the first time because you're reading different types of books and you're having these great conversations in university with your professors and other students because everybody's there with like a different mindset than high school or elementary school. So I get what you're saying, that feeling. And you know, we have all these horrible things that are happening in the world and we're all asking, what can I do? What can I do? So I get why these students are like, if I can sit down on my campus and scream and have my placard and have my school do something, that's them feeling like they're gonna have impact. But I'm gonna be very honest and a little bit pessimistic. When I see that, I'm like, I appreciate and will always defend the right for freedom of speech, but I really don't think that these students are gonna have that much impact. I don't think the people who are in charge and can do something are getting up in the morning and going, what are the students in Berkeley thinking? Wow, what am I gonna do according to what they're doing? I think this is all for us. And there's actually a great story that was on CBS News where there was this radical protester from the 1960s. He's at Harvard. He's now a professor at Georgetown. And he said he felt really great about what he did, but he realized it didn't make that much impact. It was more making him feel good about saying something about something that he felt strongly about.
But so look, he's a future leader. The kids who are the adults that are protesting now, they are our future leaders and they care about something. Isn't this precisely the place where they should be protesting?
I love that they're expressing themselves, but are they actually going to enact change?
What do you think, Cynthia?
I think the thing is that again, you've mentioned the students want to do something, right? And I think the problem is that unlike back in the 60s where you think about people protesting, for example, the Vietnam War, it was very clear that the majority of people felt a certain way. And this particular situation we're in, there's a lot of feelings on a lot of different sides about a lot of things. And so it gets murkier and it gets more difficult to tease out. The fact is that right now there has been, even McGill says that there have been lots of evidence of anti-Semitic rhetoric at these protests, even though some people are saying, no, they've been calm and peaceful. So it's like, what truth do we tease out? I think the problem right now is the extra element of social media. And so even if on the ground there is evidence, I mean, again, any protest, there are going to be humans, and humans are capable of flaw and error. So it's never going to be a perfect protest. There's always going to be
fringe members
who come in and say random stuff just to even be agitators. But this particular protest in this time we're living in is filled with social media. And even on social media, then you've got this divisiveness and this anger and this fueling. And it's almost as if, again, it's created these binaries whereby you have to believe in all of the rhetoric around this one ideology or this one. And if you don't subscribe to all the notions within that, then you are part of the problem. And I think, again, no one is listening. Everyone's in their own echo chambers. And so to go back to the original questions, are these protests effective? I think if we start actually sitting down and listening, and I think that some of the students are trying to do that. In that same podcast, what this journalist said was there are people who are actually having encampments and they're talking about anti-Semitism and they are talking about anti-Islamophobia and they are trying to bridge gaps. It isn't perfect, but to ban them outright, I don't know if I want to live in a world where ban people.
We
not
don't
at all.
I mean, I think to be clear,
but they have people, they have students pitting against students and faculty members pitting against other faculty members. And that's the issue, because you're right, before it was everybody was on the same side and we're against apartheid, we're against Vietnam.
That's right.
This is very tough.
It's different, but also I think that there's the nuance in that. I think that's what I loved about that podcast, and I do encourage people to listen to it, is that you do understand there is nuance in this. It's not black and white. And I think I can maybe speak for all of us to say every student deserves to feel safe on campus. And every student deserves to feel heard. And I think, how do you make those two things coexist in this particular case is the challenge that universities are facing.
Hey there, what did you think? Drop your comments below and join the conversation. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can find more on everything from food and fashion to pop culture and current events. See you soon.